At 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, January 31st, 2026, the United States government partially shut down. Not over the debt ceiling, not over the budget, not over defense spending or foreign aid, over ICE. Specifically over what happened in Minneapolis 3 weeks ago when federal agents killed 2 U.S. citizens, Renee and Alex Pretti, and detained a 5-year-old boy in his driveway. Subscribe to Capital Prime and turn on notifications, because what happened in the 72 hours leading up to this shutdown reveals something extraordinary. The Minnesota ICE crisis that we've been covering for 3 weeks just brought the federal government to a halt. This is the story of how Lindsey Graham, one of Trump's most loyal allies, blocked his own party's funding bill. How Chuck Schumer refused to let the government reopen without ICE reform. And how 2 killings in Minneapolis became the issue that neither party could ignore. Let me walk you through exactly how this happened, because the details matter. Wednesday, January 28th, the House passes a continuing resolution to fund the government through March. It's a clean bill, no policy riders, no controversial provisions, just basic funding to keep the government running. The bill goes to the Senate. Thursday, January 29th, 11 a.m., Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer brings the funding bill to the floor for a vote. Lindsey Graham stands up and objects, not on a procedural point, not on spending levels, on ICE. Graham says he will not vote for any funding bill until the Senate votes on his amendment to ban federal funding for sanctuary cities, cities that refuse to cooperate with ICE enforcement. This is extraordinary. Lindsey Graham has voted for hundreds of continuing resolutions over his 22 years in the Senate. He's never held one hostage before. But 3 weeks of watching what's happening in Minnesota, the killings, the protests, the national shutdown, the bipartisan outrage, has changed his calculation. Thursday, January 29th, 2 p.m., Chuck Schumer responds. He says Democrats will support a vote on Graham's sanctuary city ban, but only if Republicans also vote on Democratic legislation to re-in ICE and create accountability for the Minnesota killings. Graham refuses. Schumer refuses to move the funding bill without it. Stalemate. Thursday, January 29th, 11:59 p.m., the government funding expires. Friday, January 30th, 12:01 a.m., partial government shutdown begins. Let me read you what Lindsey Graham said on the Senate floor Thursday afternoon, because it's remarkable. What happened in Minnesota has to be addressed. 2 American citizens are dead. A 5-year-old child was used as bait by federal agents. And cities across this country are refusing to cooperate with federal law enforcement, creating sanctuary zones where immigration law doesn't apply. He continued, "I will not vote to fund a government that allows cities to harbor illegal immigrants while federal agents are being forced into situations where American citizens end up dead." Think about what Graham is saying here. He's not defending the ICE agents who killed Renee and Alex Pretti. He's saying the killings happened because sanctuary cities force ICE into difficult enforcement situations. It's a remarkable spin, but it's also an admission that what happened in Minnesota is so serious that it justifies shutting down the government. Chuck Schumer's response was equally pointed. Senator Graham is absolutely right that what happened in Minnesota must be addressed. But his solution, punishing cities that try to protect their residents from overly aggressive federal enforcement, is exactly backwards. Schumer continued, if Senator Graham wants to address what happened in Minnesota, then let's vote on strong legislation that reins in ICE, creates accountability for agents who kill American citizens, and ensures this never happens again. He added, we are prepared to keep the government closed until Republicans agree to meaningful ICE reform. This is Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader who usually tries to avoid shutdowns at all costs, saying he's willing to keep the government closed over ICE accountability. That tells you how much the political ground has shifted. Here's what makes this shutdown different from previous ones. There's genuine bipartisan anger about what happened in Minnesota. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. It's both parties furious about the same thing, but unable to agree on a solution. Republican Senator Thom Tillis, who represents North Carolina and is not exactly a progressive, said this week, the use of lethal force against American citizens who are not posing an imminent threat is deeply concerning. We need answers and we need accountability. Republican Senator Susan Collins announced that ICE has ceased enhanced operations in Maine after the Minnesota killings. Even Lindsey Graham, in his floor speech, acknowledged that American citizens are dead and that this has to be addressed. Meanwhile, Democrats are going further. Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota is calling the federal response to Alex Pretti's killing a cover-up. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is calling for ICE to be abolished and for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to be impeached. Congresswoman Delia Ramirez stood in front of a poster reading "Abolish ICE" at a press conference in the Capitol. Both parties agree something is wrong. They just can't agree on what to do about it. And so the government is shut down. What's actually shut down? This is a partial shutdown, about 25% of the federal government. Here's what's affected: Department of Homeland Security, ironically including ICE, Department of Justice, Department of Commerce, NASA, National Park Service. Some transportation agencies, about 380,000 federal employees, are furloughed, sent home without pay. Another 420,000 are deemed essential and have to work without knowing when they'll get paid. ICE operations continue because agents are considered essential personnel. But administrative staff are furloughed, meaning the very agency at the center of this crisis is partially shut down. Late Friday night, after the shutdown had already begun, there was a breakthrough. Republican and Democratic negotiators agreed to a deal. The Senate would vote on both Graham's sanctuary city ban and Democratic ICE accountability legislation. Both votes scheduled for Monday. The Senate passed the funding bill at 11:47 p.m. Friday night. 6-8-3-1. Bipartisan support. Problem solved, right? No. Because the bill now has to go back to the House. And House Democrats are refusing to fast-track it. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said Saturday morning, "We will not rubber stamp a deal that treats sanctuary cities and ICE accountability as equivalent issues." One is about protecting communities. The other is about holding federal agents accountable for killing American citizens. Those are not morally equivalent. So even though the Senate passed a funding bill, the House won't vote on it until Monday at the earliest, which means the shutdown continues through the weekend. Let me step back and explain why this shutdown is so significant. First, the Minnesota ICE crisis has become the defining political issue of early 2026. 3 weeks ago, most Americans had never heard of Renee or Alex Pretti. Now their deaths have literally shut down the federal government. Second, Lindsey Graham, one of Trump's closest allies, is breaking with the administration over this. Not publicly, not dramatically, but effectively. He's holding up government funding over an issue where he's demanding action that would constrain ICE. Third, Abolish ICE has moved from the progressive fringe to the mainstream Democratic position in 3 weeks. When sitting members of Congress hold press conferences in the Capitol with Abolish ICE posters, that's not fringe anymore. That's party positioning. Fourth, the federal government shutting down over immigration enforcement accountability is unprecedented. We've had shutdowns over healthcare, over the border wall, over spending levels, but never over whether federal agents should face consequences for killing U.S. citizens during enforcement operations. President Trump has been mostly silent on the shutdown. He posted on Truth Social Saturday morning, "Ridiculous that the government is shut down because Democrats want to protect criminal illegal aliens. Lindsey should stand strong." But notice what Trump's not saying. He's not defending the ICE agents who killed Renee and Alex Pretti. He's not attacking Lindsey Graham for holding up the funding bill. He's trying to change the subject to criminal illegal aliens. Border czar Tom Homan, who earlier this week said he was open to a drawdown of agents in Minneapolis, reversed course Saturday. ICE agents will continue enforcement operations in Minnesota and everywhere else, Homan said. "We will not be deterred by political pressure. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who's facing calls for impeachment from Ilhan Omar and others, has been silent. The administration is trying to wait this out. They're betting the shutdown will hurt Democrats politically and force them to cave. But Democrats are betting the public will side with them when the issue is accountability for federal agents killing U.S. citizens. Both parties are making a bet here. Republicans are betting Americans will blame Democrats for the shutdown because Democrats are blocking funding over immigration enforcement. Democrats are betting Americans will blame Republicans for the shutdown because Republicans are protecting federal agents who killed U.S. citizens. Who's right? Early polling is mixed. A CBS News poll conducted Friday showed 52% blame Republicans for the shutdown, 41% blame Democrats, 7% blame both equally. But here's the more interesting number. When asked specifically whether ICE agents who kill American citizens should face accountability, 73% said yes, including 58% of Republicans. That suggests Democrats might have the better argument, even if Republicans have the simpler message. Here's what we know will happen Monday. The House will vote on the Senate-passed funding bill. It will likely pass with bipartisan support ending the shutdown. Then the Senate will hold two votes. One, Graham's amendment to ban federal funding for sanctuary cities. Two, Democratic legislation creating accountability mechanisms for ICE agents. Neither will pass. Graham's sanctuary city ban will get maybe 5-2, 5-3 votes, not the 60 needed to overcome a filibuster. The Democratic ICE accountability bill will get maybe 4-8, 4-9 votes, not even a majority, let alone 60. Both parties will claim victory. Republicans will say they forced a vote on sanctuary cities. Democrats will say they forced a vote on ICE accountability. The government will reopen. And absolutely nothing will have changed, except this. The Minnesota ICE crisis will have successfully shut down the federal government for 3 days. That's not nothing. That's a political earthquake. Let's connect this to everything that's happened over the past 3 weeks. January 7th, Renee Good, killed by ICE agent. January 20th, Liam Ramos, 5 years old, detained and used as bait. January 24th, Alex Pretti, killed by Border Patrol agents. January 27th, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar attacked at town hall after calling for ICE abolition. January 30th, national shutdown, students walk out, businesses close, museums shut down. January 31st, government shuts down over ICE accountability, 3 weeks. 2 U.S. citizens dead. A 5-year-old detained. A member of Congress attacked. A national strike. And now a government shutdown. This is what a political movement looks like when it gains momentum. On Saturday, January 31st, 2026, the United States government shut down, not over the budget, not over policy, over whether federal agents should face accountability for killing American citizens. Lindsey Graham said he won't fund the government until sanctuary cities are banned. Chuck Schumer said he won't reopen the government without ICE reform. Neither will get what they want. But for 3 days, the Minnesota ICE crisis, the killings of Renee Good and Alex Pretti, became the issue that stopped the federal government in its tracks. Subscribe to Capital Prime. Turn on notifications. Share this video because what started 3 weeks ago in Minneapolis has now reached the highest levels of government. Drop a comment. Do you think this shutdown will lead to real ICE reform? Or will nothing change? This is Capital Prime, where we follow stories from the streets to the Senate and show you how movements become power. I'll see you in the next investigation.